3 weeks ago, something strange started happening outside my house. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but now I'm not so sure. Every night at exactly 11:47, a car stops in front of my house. The engine stays running for a few minutes, then it drives away. The first time I noticed it, I was working late in the living room. I looked up from my laptop and saw headlights through the window. A dark car parked across the street. I didn't think much about it. Maybe someone was checking directions. But the next night the same thing happened. 11:47. The same car, the same place. This time I watched longer. The car stayed there for almost 3 minutes. Then it slowly drove away. I tried to ignore it, but over the next week it happened again and again. Always the same time, always the same car, always the same place. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. So one night, I turned off the lights in the living room and waited. 11:45, nothing. 11:46, still nothing. Then suddenly headlights appeared at the end of the street. The car turned the corner and slowly stopped in front of my house. My heart started beating faster, because now I could see someone inside the car, just sitting there, not moving, not looking at a phone, just sitting, watching. I tried to see the driver's face, but it was too dark. After a minute, the driver leaned forward, and something strange happened. The headlights turned off. Now the car was just a dark shape in the street, and for some reason that made it feel much worse. 2 minutes passed. Then the headlights turned on again, and the car slowly drove away. I barely slept that night. The next morning I told my neighbor about it. He laughed. Probably just someone checking directions. I tried to believe him, but the next night the car came back. 11:47. Exactly. This time I decided to do something. When the car stopped, I grabbed my jacket and walked outside. My heart was pounding. The street was quiet. As I stepped off the porch, the car's headlights suddenly turned on. The driver saw me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then the car sped away. Too fast. Like the driver was afraid. The next morning, something else happened. Something that made everything worse. I opened my front door to leave for work, and sitting on the doorstep was a small envelope. No name, no stamp. Inside was a single photograph. A picture of my house, taken from across the street at night. I stared at it for a long time, because in the photo one window was lit, the living room window, and through the glass you could see me sitting on the couch, working on my laptop, which meant the person in that car wasn't just watching the house, they were watching me. That night I called the police. They took the photo, asked a few questions, but without a license plate there wasn't much they could do. "Call us if it happens again," the officer said. That night I sat in the dark, watching the street, waiting. 11:47 came, but the car didn't appear. I waited another hour, still nothing. For the first time in weeks, the street was empty. I thought maybe it was finally over. Maybe whoever it was had given up. Then I heard something, a sound behind me. Soft footsteps inside the house. My heart nearly stopped because I was alone. Slowly I turned around and saw something on the kitchen table. Another photograph, this one taken inside my house, from the hallway, looking directly into the living room, looking directly at me. For a moment, I couldn't move. I was sitting in the living room, and someone had just placed a photograph on the kitchen table, inside my house. My heart started racing. Slowly I stood up. The house was silent, too silent. Every light was off except the one in the living room. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Then I walked toward the hallway, step by step, listening. Nothing. I checked the kitchen, empty. Then the hallway, Empty. Every room looked normal. No open windows, no broken locks. Nothing. But someone had clearly been inside. Then suddenly, I noticed something. The front door, it was still locked, which meant whoever came in didn't use the door. And that's when I heard a sound above me, a floorboard from the attic. My blood ran cold because I had lived in this house for 2 years, and I had never once gone into the attic. Slowly, I looked up at the ceiling and whispered something I didn't even realize I was thinking. Someone is still here. I stood frozen in the middle of the living room, staring at the ceiling, because the sound had definitely come from the attic. A slow creak, like someone had just shifted their weight. My heart started pounding so loudly I was sure whoever was up there could hear it. For 2 years, I had lived in this house, and I had never once opened the attic door. Slowly, I walked toward the hallway. Every step felt louder than the last. The attic entrance was a small wooden hatch in the ceiling, with a pull-down ladder. I stopped underneath it, listening. The house was silent again, too silent. For a moment, I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe it was the wind, maybe old wood shifting, but then I heard it again, a faint movement. Right above me, someone was definitely there. My hands started shaking. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police. The operator answered quickly. I tried to keep my voice calm. I think someone is inside my house. She asked me a few questions, then told me to leave the house immediately. But something stopped me, because suddenly I realized something. If someone was hiding in the attic, then they must have been inside the house earlier, which meant they were the one who left the photograph. And if they were watching me from across the street for weeks, then they knew everything about my routine. My heart started racing faster, because that meant this wasn't random. Someone had chosen me. I backed away from the attic ladder, slowly moving toward the front door. My hand was just reaching for the handle when I heard something else, a quiet sound, behind me. I turned around and saw something that made my stomach drop. The attic ladder was slowly unfolding, by itself, one step, then another. The wooden ladder creaked as it extended toward the floor. I couldn't breathe, because someone was pushing it down from above. I stepped back, my entire body frozen. The ladder finally touched the floor, and then I saw a shadow. Moving slowly in the attic opening, someone was climbing down. The first thing I saw was a hand, pale, thin, gripping the ladder, then a second hand. My heart felt like it was about to explode. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then finally, a face appeared. And the moment I saw who it was, everything became even worse. Because it wasn't a stranger. It was someone I had met before. Someone who knew me. Someone who had been inside this house many times. My neighbor. The same man who told me the car outside was probably nothing. He looked at me from the ladder with a strange, calm smile. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. I was wondering when you'd finally notice. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My neighbor was standing on the attic ladder, looking at me like this was the most normal thing in the world. My mind was racing, because this was the same man who had laughed when I told him about the car, the same man who said I was overthinking. Slowly, he climbed down the last step of the ladder. His shoes hit the wooden floor, and he just stood there, calm, watching me. I finally found my voice. "What are you doing in my house?" He tilted his head slightly, like he was surprised I needed to ask. "I told you," he said quietly. "I was waiting for you to notice." My heart was pounding. The phone was still in my hand. The police operator was still on the line. I whispered as quietly as I could, "He's here?" The neighbor smiled. "You can hang up. I didn't move. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he slowly walked into the living room, like he had been here 100 times before, which suddenly made me realize something. He probably had. He sat down on the couch, exactly where I had been sitting in the photograph. Then he looked around the room. "You really never checked the attic?" I shook my head slowly. He laughed softly. "I've been up there for weeks." My stomach dropped. Weeks. Which meant while I was sleeping, while I was working, while I was watching TV, someone was above me, listening, watching. My voice barely came out. Why? For the first time, his expression changed. Something darker appeared in his eyes. Because I needed to understand something. I didn't know what he meant. But then he said something that made everything even worse. "You remind me of someone." A cold feeling spread through my chest. Who? For a moment he didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something from his pocket, a small photograph. He held it out to me. I stepped closer carefully. The photo was old, faded, but the woman in the picture looked familiar. Too familiar. Because she looked almost exactly like me. My hands started shaking. "That's impossible." He smiled again. "That's what I thought too." Then he pointed at the photo. "My sister." I stared at the picture again. The resemblance was undeniable. Same eyes, same face, same smile. What happened to her? For a moment the room felt colder. His voice became quiet. "She lived in this house." My heart skipped. "Before you." Suddenly the pieces started falling together. The car, the photographs, the watching. "You think I have something to do with her?" He didn't answer, which was worse. Then he leaned forward slightly, studying my face. I needed to be sure. The sound of sirens echoed in the distance. The police. Relief flooded through me. He heard them too. He stood up slowly, walked toward the window, looked outside, then turned back to me. And for the first time, he looked almost disappointed. I guess I'll never know. Before I could react, he walked quickly toward the back door, opened it, and disappeared into the darkness. Seconds later, the police arrived. They searched the house, the attic, the yard, but he was gone. The officers asked dozens of questions, took the photographs, checked the attic, and what they found there made everything even stranger. Because inside the attic there was a small mattress, water bottles, food wrappers, and dozens of photographs, all of me, taken over the past weeks. The officer looked at me carefully. "Do you know this man?" I nodded slowly. "My neighbor." But as the words left my mouth, I realized something that made the entire night even more terrifying. Because in the 2 years I had lived here, I had never once seen anyone actually move into the house next door,